tees it up. And we are just about set for football. About 2 hours and 21 minutes later. Jordan Smith. It'll be a touchback for South Carolina State to start things off. We will see who takes the field at quarterback for this team. Their longtime starter, Corey Fields Jr., did not play last week at Charlotte, missed with an injury, and that is Fields right there, wearing the number 2, and it looks like he will lead this team out onto the field. So plenty of experience there as he gets set to go. 6 foot, 195, a former newcomer, Rookie of the Year in the MEAC back in 2019. Two running backs in the backfield for the Bulldogs to start things off. An offense that has struggled, just 5 points per game through the first 2 weeks of the season. First down handoff and a decent pickup right there for the true freshman Jawarn Howell.
And a good job by the offensive line from South Carolina State. They got movement at the point of attack. That is what you want to do. You want to fire off with the flat back, keep your legs chopping, keep a wide base, and try and get movement.
Trying to go quickly here, 2nd and 6. Fields waiting for the signal from the sideline. Just 60 yards, a touchdown, and an interception in their Week 1 loss. This is thrown batted down by LaMiles Brooks, a guy who they missed big time for much of the second half in the Louisville game last week.
And Brooks is the vocal leader of this ball club. You see, good job picking up the blitz by the South Carolina State offense, but a better job by Brooks reading the quarterback's eyes. Watch where Fields wanted to go with the football and is able to make a play on the ball.
Brooks led them with 3 picks last year and 7 bat downs. It was his first year as a starter, highly recruited 4-star kid, top 300 recruit out of Jacksonville, Florida. 3rd and 6. Looking to throw, a little screen pass is picked off, and here comes Georgia Tech the other direction. Kyle Kennard getting the start at defensive end, coming up big.
And Kennard did a good job of reading Fields' eyes. As an offensive lineman, you've got to sell the screen. They wanted to run a screen pass, but you've got to sell it. You've got to make the defense believe you're trying to block them. They did not sell the screen, and you saw him sit back, Kennard did, and waited for Fields to release the football. You see him right here. He's reading him. And once he releases the football, he jumps across. He's able to snatch it out the air and get over, and that is what you have to do. As an offensive line, you've got to sell that. You cannot allow them to have the free rush.
Kennard, a local product out of Riverwood High School, setting up this Georgia Tech offense in business, 1st and 10 at the 15. That little tunnel screen, we saw that a lot last week. Christian Leary on the reception, can't get anywhere on the pass from Haynes King.
And a good job by Michael Brunson to get around the would-be blocker, Seether, something that they had a big play with that same play last week. You just mentioned it, Chucky. But a good job by Brunson to get around the tight end and make that tackle.
Haynes King, a fantastic debut last week at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. 28 points they scored in the second quarter, but unable to maintain that lead in the second half against Louisville. Going quickly out wide again. This is going to be a loss of 1 on the pass to Chase Lane, tackled by DeMarcus Doe, the safety.
And once again, a good reaction by the South Carolina State defenders. They're attacking the football.
This defense, Forrest, has been pretty good through 2 weeks. The numbers don't reflect some of the success they've had. They've been on the field a lot in some tough situations. 3rd and 12, looking for an early stop. King throwing, open man at the 10-yard line, inside the 5, down to the 4. Malik Rutherford on his first grab at 5 catches for 85 yards last week.
And you see King does a good job. He knows where he wants to go at the football. You get your ball to your athlete in space and you allow him to make plays for you. You don't have to throw for the first down. Get it to your athletes. Give them the space to operate and do what they do best.
2 tight ends set here. 1st and goal at the 4-yard line. King hands off, up the middle, touchdown. Jamal Haynes, the sophomore. Georgia Tech opens the scoring just a few minutes in.
excellent job by the offensive line getting pushed at the point of attack. They all fired off with flatbacks. A good job, and that is what you ask for when you're inside the red zone and you're trying to run the football. You want them to mesh together and get a push at the point of attack.
Gavin Stewart's kick is up and good. 7-0. Georgia Tech, the perfect start. The interception, Kyle Kennard, the big man, setting him up. And then it's Haynes on the ground, but the Yellow Jackets in front. Georgia Tech over South Carolina State. Jamal Haynes, a guy they moved from wide receiver to running back this year, scores the touchdown. He's right back out there on kickoff. Sophomore from Loganville, Georgia, out of Grayson High School, a 3-star recruit out of there. Gavin Stewart back out to kick off for the second time. It's deep into the end zone for a touchback. And round 2 here for this South Carolina State offense led by Corey Fields. How do you get him settled into this game if you're on the offensive side for the Bulldogs right now? What is the key for them on offense?
You've got to get your quarterback comfortable, and I think the way that you do that is the quick pass game. Run some jet sweeps. You want to get the ball to your playmakers early. When a quarterback starts to see positive plays, he reacts to that and he gets into a rhythm. So you want to get Fields into a rhythm. Give him some easy pitch and catch plays.
He's got some experienced offensive linemen in front of him. Number of returning starters on that front line. And that's a part of this offense that they believe can be a strength. That's what their offensive coordinator, Kevin McGirt, told us. 1st and 10 from the 25. Little speed option. Fields trying to hang on to it, and he's gobbled up by 3 Yellow Jackets. Kennard helping lead the way. He's been active early on.
And on that play, what Kennard did was split the blockers. They wanted to get to the edge. He did not allow them to get to the edge. Watch what he does. He splits the blockers right there. If you're South Carolina State, you've got to get a hat on a hat. You've got to get push on Kennard. You don't have to knock him out the box, but you've got to cover him up. If they cover him up, the back is able to get around the edge.
Sets up 2nd and 10. Tyler Smith in the backfield, along with Casey Fields. Handoff up the middle, pushing his way forward. Nice pickup there of about 4 yards. Braylon Oliver in on the stop. Fields the ball carrier.
And I'll tell you what's interesting early is the push that they're getting in the middle of that defensive line. You see the offensive lineman for South Carolina State firing off. The big fella, Zeke Biggers, number 88. When you get pushed like that with those big guys in the middle, that lets me know they're firing off with the flat back and they are winning at the point of attack.
Empty backfield. Fields is the receiver at the bottom of your screen, the running back. 3rd and 6. Corey Fields throwing, and a little miscommunication. It looked like intended target was Richard Bailey. That brings up 4th down.
And it looked like Bailey turned to the inside, and Fields was expecting him to turn to the outside.
Quick 3 and out after the interception on the first drive. Brings out Maxion Cobb, freshman from Orlando, to punt this one away.
You know, it's interesting, Chucky. I thought that South Carolina State would come out and try and speed the game up, take their time, run some clock. I think that is one of the strategies that we looked at coming into this ball game, but they're just lining up and going for it.
Cobb boots this one away, out of bounds near the 35-yard line to keep it away from Dominic Blaylock. We get another look at this Georgia Tech offense. The Yellow Jackets, their first true home game, and it started off really well so far. The championships, the last one being back in 1990, their 131st season of Georgia Tech football. And there he is, Brent Key, Georgia Tech alumnus, named head coach on November 29th of 2022 after he served as the interim head coach last year. They started 1-3. He led them to a 4-4 record the rest of the year, and here he is in his first full season as head coach. Haynes King has it batted down, coming off the edge. Patrick Godbolt, and that was a guy that we had circled on our defensive charts.
And at 6'3", 235 pounds, he does a good job of reading Haynes King. This is a play that they ran often against Louisville last week, the quick pass game, trying to get the ball out to your playmakers. A good job by Godbolt reading the quarterback Haynes King and knocking that down.
Brings up 2nd and 10. Man in motion is Malik Rutherford. Handoff up the middle. Some space here. And breaking through for about 13 yards, Trey Cooley. Running through some arm tackles, finally brought down by Benjamin.
And the thing about Cooley, he runs behind his pads. He runs with the low center of gravity, and he keeps his legs churning. That's what you want to see from your backs.
Some tempo here from Georgia Tech. Said they wanted to do this week. King under pressure. Pretty good throw, and it is caught. What a catch by Rutherford.
And what was most impressive about that play is King stood tall in the pocket with pressure all around him. That's trust. He's trusting his offensive linemen. He's trusting they're going to make the plays. They're going to give him the time that he needs.
We're going to take a look at this last play. Let's see if Rutherford did bring this in.
And you see what happened on that play. A good job. I think he catches the football, but I thought it was an excellent job by the tackles. When you look at the tackles, they keep the width of the pocket. Tackles starting this week. Ethan McKinney and Jordan Williams moves out to the right tackle. Watch how good of a job they do on this play. You keep the pocket wide. You keep the width of the pocket. That allows the quarterback to move from side to side, which is what Haynes King did to buy himself a little bit more time to get the ball down the field to Malik Rutherford. Great job by the offensive line.
That was ruled a catch in the break. Call confirmed. Now Cooley bounces it outside to the 10 and slips down near the 7-yard line. A pickup of 21 yards on 1st and 10.
And you see the versatility by Cooley, able to get to the outside, bounce it to the outside. He's got good stop and go ability, and he's got good vision, and that's what you look for from your backs. He not only runs well between the tackles, but he runs well in the open field.
Rutherford and Blaylock, some nice blocks at their receiver spots to set up 1st and goal. King going to keep it himself this time. Nowhere to go. Knocked down by Michael Brunson at the line of scrimmage.
And a good job by Brunson not going for the ball fake. Usually when you're inside the 10-yard line and you've got a really good established rushing attack, you're going to hand the ball off to one of those backs. But a good job by Brunson understanding and watching the football and not reacting.
2nd and goal, same spot here at the 6-yard line. King will hand it this time, and again, just nowhere to go. Aaron Smith leading the charge from his middle linebacker spot.
And a good job once again by this South Carolina State defense. They had 12 personnel in that play, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 wide receivers. That's your jumbo package. That's your power package. And a good job by the South Carolina State defense to get up the field.
That defense has given up 5 of 8 scores in the red zone through 2 weeks, but just 2 of those have been touchdowns. 3rd and goal. King with plenty of time, lobbing and caught, corner of the end zone. Dominic Blaylock, his first catch as a member of Georgia Tech. The transfer from Georgia getting in on the action.
And I said it earlier, and you see it once again, a quarterback trusting his offensive line. That play took a little time to develop, but King stood tall in the pocket, allowed his receiver to come across the formation, and he found him in the back of the end zone.
7 plays, 60 yards in just under 2.5 minutes. And it is 14-0 Georgia Tech.
Once again, watch the time that King takes. He allows the play to develop, and then he delivers a strike where only his guy can high point the football and make a play on it. Once again, that's trust in your offensive line. They're going to give you the time that you need. And when you've got a new quarterback coming in, this is just his 2nd game of live action with this offensive line. The fact that he's trusting these guys with 2 new tackles in this ball game tells you a lot about the development of this offense. And the coaching staff talked to us about that. They said you get better more so between the 1st game and the 2nd game of the season than any other time during the football season, and you see the development on the offensive line early.
They lost their top 3 pass catchers from a year ago. They brought in 4 transfer wide receivers. 3 of those are former top 300 recruits, and Blaylock was the highest of them all. He's a former 4-star top 40 recruit that went to Georgia, didn't get a lot of playing time. They say this receiving group is actually, they feel like, deeper than it was a season ago. Another touchback. Don't forget, ACC football continues. 3 games tonight. We're inching closer to those with our delay, but 5:15 on ACC Network. App State taking on number 17 UNC at 6 Eastern on ACC Network Extra. Number 21 Duke coming off that big win over Clemson, hosting Lafayette. And then at 8:30 Eastern on ACC Network, number 4 Florida State hosting Southern Miss. Those games also available on the ESPN app. Andre Washington out there for the 3rd drive here for South Carolina State, a redshirt freshman who looks the part. 6'4", 215 at the quarterback spot.
And the difference in Washington, he's a quarterback that can run the football more effectively than Fields would.
Trying to use the legs right here and showing it off, breaking through on what should have been nothing to pick up 6 yards on first down.
And you see the athletic ability from Washington. 6'4", as you said earlier, he's a tall kid, and he's just young, and he's got to, get matured in this game and get a little bit more seasoned. But you see the athletic ability.
Weren't able to corral him in the backfield. That was an issue last week for this Georgia Tech team, tackling, and you mentioned it a couple hours ago in our open. They went full pads Tuesday and Wednesday.
And the coaching staff said they responded really well to that.
They had a great week of practice. 2nd and 4 again on the option play outside. They have the first down, their first of the game. Tyler Smith working with Washington there.
And a good job by Washington stretching it out, making the Georgia Tech defender commit. And once he made him commit, then he pitched the football, which allowed for the receiver to get around the edge and get the first down.
Nigel Johnson on the field for the first time at wide receiver at the top of the screen, but a flag.
5-yard penalty, first down.
And that was Johnson who is called for the false start. 1st and 15. You can't have those if you're South Carolina State trying to move the ball against this Georgia Tech defense. First and 15 for Washington. Handoff up the middle, some space, but tripped up. That is a big tackle there from Kyle Eford. He gets 6 yards back on 1st and 15.
And you see Tyler Smith, he gets through the line of scrimmage. And if it were not for him grabbing the shoelace, Tyler Smith may still be running down the field.
Sets up 2nd and 9, so a good pickup there on first down by Smith. Very young running back room for South Carolina State. Washington keeping, hit hard. He does spin himself forward for a pickup of about 3 yards, 4 yards on the play. Noah Collins and Daquan Dowse on the tackle.
What I like about what I'm seeing from South Carolina State right now is they're making the linebackers commit to stopping the run. When your quarterback can run the football effectively, like Washington has done, it makes the linebackers have to react to ball fakes and to him coming around the edge. And one time I want to see him pull up because I think the linebackers are going to continue to come up in the box.
South Carolina State 0 for 2 on 3rd down today. 3rd and 5. They've set themselves up nicely after 1st and 15. The option again, Washington keeping. He has a first down across midfield to the 48-yard line. Helmet comes off.
And once again, a good job by the offensive line. I like the way they're pulling around those guys and leading the way. Eric Brown, the center, he moves to guard, but he gets around the edge and leads on that play. And this is what you're looking for. When those linemen can open their hips and get around the edge, you've got a lead blocker. You've got a long, athletic, lean quarterback in Washington able to get up in those holes and stretch out and get those first downs.
This is Corey Fields Jr. because Washington's helmet came off at the end of that play. He's got 3 carries for 18 yards. Now Fields steps in 1st and 10 at the Georgia Tech 48. He'll run the option this time. Pitches out. They've got space out there. Diving forward near the 40. A pickup of 8 there on first down. There is a flag on the field. Casey Fields on the carry.
Holding. Offense, number 51. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Moses Umore in the right tackle today called for that holding penalty. As you see, Buddy Pugh in year number 22 announced his retirement before the season. They said they'd have a little wrinkle this week, maybe some more option game, and we've seen that here.
Well, you've got an aggressive defense from Georgia Tech. You've got guys that missed a couple of tackles last week that want to try and make big plays and make those tackles. And you've got to use their speed against them, and they're doing a pretty good job right now with this option game.
Josh Shaw and Casey Fields in the backfield. Handoff up the middle, just a couple yards before he's wrapped up. Zeke Biggers, the big defensive tackle, standing at 6'6", 333 on the stop.
A good job by the big fella to clog up the area. He's as big as he is, what's impressive about Biggers is he can move from side to side. I mean, this big fella can move not just north and south, east and west.
Biggers, a junior from Salisbury, North Carolina. 2nd and 15. Corey Fields has stayed on the field ever since Washington's helmet popped off. Fields on the option again. That ball almost got batted. Hit hard there, spinning off a tackle. Still not anywhere to go. Trinilius Tatum helping on the stop.
And I tell you, they missed the added dimension when Washington's not in the game with this pitch game. I thought Fields, well, they made him make a decision early. A good job by number 97, Eddie Kelly, getting up the field, finding the seaming, getting pressure on Fields, and making him pitch that ball a little bit earlier than I thought he wanted to. When Washington was running that play, he was able to make the defense make the decision. The defense made the quarterback make the decision on that play.
I'm seeing Washington in the immediate sideline area right now. I'm not sure if they're taking a look at him. We'll keep an eye out for him on the sideline. 3rd and long. Throwing downfield, tipped, and incomplete. KJ Wallace making the play, another local kid.
And the receiver was kind of bracketed on that play. You had a safety over the top. You had coverage underneath. I don't know if Fields saw the defender underneath, and a good job by the defender to react and get a hand up and knock that ball out.
Kenneth Johnson was that safety over the top. Now Cobb back out to punt with Blaylock deep to return. Didn't give him a chance the first time. Bulldogs do make it into Georgia Tech territory for the first time today, but nothing doing. End over end kick. Blaylock fields it at the 21, a fair catch. 31-yard punt there by Cobb. Oh, look at this. Talk about some of the transfers at wide receiver for Georgia Tech. Look at these numbers as a whole over the last 5 years in the transfer portal. Over 3,500 players this year.
I love it, because sometimes players are in a position where they're not going to be successful, and they need a new culture. They need a change of scenery. So I like the idea of a player being able to move around and be somewhere where they're comfortable.
Georgia Tech going quickly here. Jamal Haynes on the carry, making a couple people miss near the first down marker. He gets about 11 yards and does move the chains. Haynes, a guy who moved from receiver. These are the 5 new faces. 4 of them are transfers. Eric Singleton, the true freshman, he made his mark last week. Big touchdown catch in the 4th quarter against Louisville. But these are some players right there.
And Leary, the transfer from Alabama, is a speedster, a track guy. So if he gets to the outside, if we even him leaving, he's that fast.
Haynes on the carry again for 8 yards on first down near the 40-yard line. In a good mix early on. Sherrod Burrows on the tackle of Haynes and Trey Cooley in the backfield. Cooley a little bit bigger, about 20 pounds heavier than Haynes. This is Haynes again trying to get outside. He's wrapped up near the line of scrimmage. Jamal McKinley on the stop. Don't Get 3 more games tonight. One of those kicking off in about an hour and a half. App State against North Carolina. Florida State coming off the big win. How about that one for your Seminoles over LSU last weekend?
Great win for the program, but they've got to be careful with that Southern Miss ball club. 1989, they ran into a Southern Miss ball club with a quarterback nobody knew at the time named Brett Favre, and they got upset. So they've got to be careful and keep playing the way that they played last week.
A little after your time.
Absolutely.
Handoff first down. That's the big man Cooley charging forward for a pickup of about 6 yards to move the chains.
And watch the guards in the center on this play. You've got good guys firing off the football, tandem blocks. And when I say tandem, I mean the guard and the center are getting hip-to-hip, doubling that down lineman up to the linebackers, covering up those second-level players, allowing for the back to get the first down.
Georgia Tech, we saw this in the second quarter last week. There has just been at times such a great flow to this offense, and you wouldn't know that you have a new quarterback and a ton of new receivers out there. Haynes King throwing outside. This is Singleton. Dropped on the other side of midfield. He gets 9 yards on first down.
And a good job by Benson, the tight end, blocking on the outside. And one of the things you talk about a new quarterback, I think with Haynes King, it's different than most new quarterbacks. You know, you got tutelage, from Jimbo Fisher, one of the better quarterback coaches, you know, in college football at Texas A&M. Then you come here, and you're working with Chris Weinke, you know, a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback.
Handoff Cooley, first down, charging forward to the 37-yard line. They move the chains again. Marquise Bradley. Awesome. Coach, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Georgia Tech back on offense here, so it's Buddy Pugh's defense that has to go to work here. Haynes King looking downfield. Open man inside the 15. It's the Texas A&M transfers hooking up. Chase Lane on the grab for 23.
You see the familiarity. Haynes King with the pump fake. You make the defense stop and react, and a good job finding Chase going down the field.
Chase Lane, a guy who would not be here at Georgia Tech if not for Haynes King. Handoff here to Cooley, who's dropped. It's a great article, Georgia Tech website this week. Chase Lane, who was ready to make his decision. Haynes King kind of called him up after Chris Weinke had asked him, hey, who were you throwing with? He mentioned Chase Lane. They said, hey, we could take a guy like that. And Haynes King said, hey, just come talk to us, hear what they have to say. Fell in love with the campus, and the rest is history. Second down, King, plenty of time here. Into the flats to Cooley, 5-yard line, spinning, and he's out of bounds. Aiden Weber on the stop.
And a good job by King taking what the defense gives him.
Flag on the field. Right at the 1-yard line.
And I think they're going to look at possibly targeting because he led with the crown of his helmet and he launched at the offensive player, Cooley.
After the play was over, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, defense, number 8. After this is to the goal with an automatic first down.
Interesting, because I thought they would look at possibly looking at a targeting penalty. He leads with the crown of his helmet and hits him above the shoulders. By definition, that looked like a targeting penalty.
I wonder if something happened after that play almost. Sets up first and goal.
The ruling on the previous play is under further review for the possibility of a targeting foul.
They'll look at targeting. It'll be first and goal when we come back. Georgia Tech by 14.
Was out of bounds and he got hit late. The second thing that you look for, and it's what I thought early before I saw him being out of bounds, he led with the crown of his helmet and he hit the back in his helmet and he launched and he hit him above his shoulders. So by definition, that is targeting and he is disqualified from this football game.
And that's the part of that rule that's, I think, the tough part to swallow is the disqualification, which is very harsh. Handoff to Cooley, and that ball came out there. South Carolina State says they have it, and they do.
And this is why you never give up on a play. When it looked like Cooley's getting ready to walk into the end zone, it looked like he tried to spin, and a South Carolina State player was there to hit the football. Let's watch here. He actually got punched out, it looked like. I think that was number 25.
Yeah, Jamari Benjamin and Jalen Evans came up with it, just caught it out of the air.
Yeah, number 25 punched the ball out, and then Jalen Evans is able to grab it out the air. It's a great play by both of those defenders, and this is why you never give up on a play. Because it looked like Cooley's getting ready to walk into the end zone. They had really good movement at the point of attack, but the defenders did a good job of sticking their hands in there, punching, and trying to get that ball out.
Huge stop for the Bulldogs. And they're going to review this as well.
And I thought Jamari Benjamin did a good job. You see right there, well, actually, he didn't punch it. The ball just popped out.
I think the review is if he was in the end zone first, but he's not even close.
I think they're trying to see where was the defender when he got the ball. It might be down on the, well, the defender's foot is on the end line, because that's a huge difference between the ball being down on the 1 yard line going out or the 20-yard line. And I think because the defender's foot is on the goal line, they may bring that ball out to the 20. Watch his foot. I think it's his left foot, number 1. When he gets control of the football, you can't really see right there. Maybe if we see the other angle.
First down.
Yeah, his foot was on the line, and I think that's why they looked to make sure his foot was on the line, which helps South Carolina State tremendously. You don't want to be on your own 1 yard line coming out.
Andre Washington is back at quarterback for South Carolina State. Helmet popped off on a play on their last drive, and he did not re-enter. But he's back out there now with 2 backs in the backfield. 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line. Washington, maybe a little bit of a blown play, trying to make something of it. Runs through an arm tackle, puts his shoulder down. He's across the 35, gets 17 on 1st down.
And right now, the South Carolina State offensive line is winning at the point of attack. A good job covering up the defenders. And you see number 72 climb up and be able to cover up the linebackers. That's what you want to see from your guards and center. Climbing to the second level, covering up those linebackers. Too often, the Georgia Tech linebackers are taking on the contact instead of being slippery and getting around those big guys.
Georgia Tech losing 2 100-plus tacklers from a season ago at those linebacker positions. Dragged down in the backfield, Kevin Harris, who is a big-time athlete, a former top 100 recruit, transfer from Alabama, a guy that they need to have a big year.
And Kevin Harris, long arms, quick twitch, and he's able to get around the edge. You see him, it's almost like he said, okay, enough is enough, Washington. Stop this.
There's a big man in Andre Washington being thrown backwards, setting up 2nd and 14. Washington looks to the sideline, taking their time here on offense. Something you talked about right out of the gates, trying to speed this game up a little bit. Washington throws it out and goes out of bounds. You wonder, it was almost looked like a forward pass.
Really on the field with a fumble that went backward and out of bounds. 3rd down.
And you see pursuit from the opposite side of the field. A good job by Paul Moala to come across the formation, find the seam, get up in there, and make the quarterback just make a decision. And that's what you want to do as the defense. You want to make the quarterback make the decision. While the quarterback is pressing that defense, trying to make them commit before he pitches the football, you want to make the quarterback make the decision as opposed to making the defense.
Empty set, man in motion. Washington on the keeper here on 3rd and long, trying to get the edge, and he's going to be knocked out. He gets about 7 yards, but still going to bring up 4th and long. KJ Wallace running him out of bounds on the South Carolina State sideline.
And one of the things that hurt them on that drive is that first down when Kevin Harris made the tackle in the backfield. It put this team behind the sticks. They haven't had much success throwing the football, running the football. That's where they've been effective. But when you put them behind the sticks, you make them make decisions that they possibly don't want to make offensively.
Maxion Cobb back out there to punt this one away again. Gets a good boot to this one. Down inside the 20 for Blaylock, but has a chance to return it up the sideline. Blaylock trying to go back across the field. He's going to be dropped at about the 38-yard line by Jaden Jones. A 19-yard return for Blaylock to set up this Georgia Tech offense. People and communities affected with food, water, emergency shelter, and relief supplies. One guy for Georgia Tech who has been so impressive in the community, very active, is Miles Brooks, their talented safety, a member of their Jackets Without Borders club, and he went to Puerto Rico back in 2022 to help rebuild homes affected by Hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017. Talked about how they're still kind of going through it over there after that. Said it was an incredible experience, but he is so active. He had an event yesterday he went to after practice. He was supposed to have one today, and I'm not sure if the postponement of the game, or the delay, excuse me, will affect that. Said he just wants to put smiles on people's faces. A wide open receiver out wide is Chase Lane, who's across midfield for a first down to pick up a 14.
What Georgia Tech did on that play is you had a bunch of players moving and shifting prior to the snap of the football, and they got what they wanted, mismatches and confusion by the South Carolina State defense.
King 10 of 11 so far, 84 yards through the air, and plenty of time here. Look at the protection. Couple pump fakes, gets it out to Haynes. He's got a pickup of about 5 yards.
And the offensive line is giving Haynes King everything that he wants. He had a crossing route that he could have hit Chase Lane on, but he didn't want to go there. He looked down the field. He went through his progressions, and when he did not see what he liked, he dumped the ball off to Haynes.
That sets up 2nd and 5. An offensive line we talked about earlier. There's been some changes. Ethan McKinney getting the start at left tackle. They moved Jordan Williams out to right tackle. Haynes pushes forward, another first down. Connor Scaglione, the Princeton transfer, who's played a lot of football at right guard today, and they've looked really good so far.
Well, what you're seeing from this offensive line is you're seeing the offensive tackles do a good job of keeping the width of the pocket. The guards in the center are being stout at the point of attack, and they're not allowing for pressure to come in Haynes King's face.
King again, plenty of time out to Haynes, who is knocked down in the backfield, which was Austin, who replaced Aiden Weber. Loss of 3 on the play. And tonight on the ACC Network and the ESPN app after Southern Miss and Florida State, ACC Huddle has a complete wrap-up of our game and the whole day of highlights, analysis, and interviews with players and coaches. We'll get you caught up on anything you might have missed. We've had delays kind of all across ACC country today in some form. Happy we got things started here in Atlanta 2 hours and 21 minutes late. King looking downfield, has an open man. It's the freshman! Back-to-back weeks, Eric Singleton Jr., 40-yard strike from Haynes King.
Number 3, Marquise Bradley got caught looking in the backfield. You've got to pay attention and stay on top of your receivers. You can't allow the receiver to climb up on you as a defensive back when you don't have safety help over the top. You've got to keep everything in front of you, and Marquise Bradley did not do that on that play, allowing for the easy pitch and catch for the touchdown.
5 plays, 62 yards, over 2 minutes and 16 seconds. The extra point is good from Gavin Stewart, and it's 21-0 Georgia Tech. The freshman.
But I like what King did on this play. He put a lot of air under the football and allowed the receiver to track that football, and Eric Singleton did a good job of keeping his eyes on the football, concentrating on the ball, not getting too excited on what he knew would be a touchdown.
True freshman from Douglasville, Georgia, out of Alexander High School. A couple catches for 34 yards and a touchdown last week. Into the end zone again this week. What a great start it's been to his Georgia Tech career. South Carolina State takes over.
And I think for South Carolina State offensively, you've got to get back to where you found success. And I think that is overloading that offensive line, getting your quarterback, Andre Washington, to the outside, and making him make defenders make a decision. That's what you want to put him in a position to do. Make these defenders commit to him, and then he can get that pitch going.
See if they can sustain a drive. In the first quarter, they did make it across the 50 into Georgia Tech territory, but that drive quickly stalled out after that. It actually happened once Washington's helmet popped off, and he had to go to the sideline. Handoff up the middle, decent pick up there, 5 yards on first down. Casey Fields. It's really been through the air where they have struggled the most, just 61.5 pass yards per game. I mean, that's something they have to improve on.
Well, I think the way that you improve your passing game is you get the run established and you make the defense put more players in the box to stop the run. That's when you'll get man coverage on the outside.
Doesn't help. Lost Shaquan Davis, who is now in the Saints practice squad. Almost 1,800 yards, 19 touchdowns the last 2 years for South Carolina State. That's a tough one to replace. You see the 2-yard pickup there on second down. Lockett on the stop.
And Lockett's another big fella, 6'6", 341 pounds. They've got some true zero technique players in the middle of this defense in Lockett and Biggers.
Third and 3. There's just 1 for 5 on third down so far today. Trying to run the option outside. Washington tripped up, and they stop him on 3rd and short. Eddie Kelly got a piece of him.
And you have to wonder if Kelly's not able to trip Washington up. I think he gets the first down. A great job by Kelly, and I thought the offensive lineman could have done a better job. You've got to get hands on him, Eric Brown, and you've got to at least bump him, touch him, but you can't get a no-hitter and allow Kelly to get up the field and make that tackle.
Another chance for Blaylock here, who had a 19-yard return on the last attempt by Maxion Cobb. Georgia Tech's been close to a couple of these. Coming after this one again. Low line drive picked up by Blaylock. And he is surrounded. Great coverage on that punt by starts at noon Eastern. Field hockey, UConn, and number 7 Syracuse. Then 1:30 Eastern starts a soccer triple header. Number 20 Northwestern at Virginia Tech. Florida at number 2 Florida State. And at 5:30 Eastern, Wyoming and Louisville. You kicking around a little bit on the soccer field? Can I trust you?
That's not my sport of choice.
Okay. Right.
When I was a young kid, yeah, but a little bit too much running for the big fella.
You can move the feet, though. You can move the feet from the old offensive line. There you go.
Well, soccer's a lot more than dancing, man.
Dante Smith on the carry there on first down. 2-yard gain. The redshirt senior using his extra year. 6th season here at Georgia Tech. Haynes King and company have been lights out on the offensive side so far. Throws a strikeout wide to Dominic Blaylock. Targeted 3 times last week, did not have a catch. We've already seen him in the end zone today from King.
And I'm going to watch out the left tackle. Corey Robinson is back in the game at left tackle number 55, and he's playing against some really good pass rushers from South Carolina State. He had some issues last week in the passing game, so let's see how he does with Patrick Godbolt, number 43, and Jablonski Green, number 34. Those guys are excellent pass rushers off the edge, and I want to see how he reacts to those guys.
A continuing tradition of great defense at South Carolina State. They've had some tremendous players come out of there. Great strong run here to the 45, still on his feet to the 42-yard line. Dante Smith finally dragged down by Malcolm McGee. There's also a late flag. Somehow that turned into a 14-yard gain. Great defense at South Carolina.
And this is all on the back. That's just power running right there, running through arm tackles and keeping his feet churning.
Personal foul. Face mask. Offense. Number 4. 15-yard penalty. 3rd down.
So to go along, I know that's a personal foul on him, but how impressive is that? You're running through people, running over people, running through arm tackles, and grabbing face masks all at the same time.
Doing a little bit of everything right there.
Just a little bit of everything, right? I think everybody's kind of trying to figure out, how do you do that? You see the fans in the crowd looking up at the Jumbotron.
Hey, hats off to these fans who have stuck around for 2 hours and 20 minutes while we waited during that weather delay. The students, none of them left. Third and 3 now for Georgia Tech. Back on their own side of the 50-yard line. First half winding down, 4:40 and ticking. King hands it off, chance to get outside for Smith. Dragged down, but he does get the first down, tackled by DeMarcus Doe, who has been active. Let's take a look back at that face mask on the last play.
I watched Dante Smith on this play. Great job dragging, but he's also dragging the defender and holding on, twisting his helmet, holding on. He's still holding on.
It almost didn't look like he was trying to get unhooked.
Yeah.
It didn't look comfortable, that's for sure.
It looked purposeful.
True freshman Evan Dickens in the backfield now. King spins out of it, launching downfield, just over the outstretched reach of Eric Singleton Jr.
And a good job by the South Carolina State defenders not allowing King to set his feet. He had to throw that on the run. And I think that is what made him put a little bit too much on the football. I think if he's able to set his feet, he's able to take a little bit off of that football and allow his receiver to run under it. And Eric Singleton has been a big part of this offense all afternoon. The true freshman is really showing up today.
King looking, wide open receiver, middle of the field. Breaking tackles now across the 35-30 and dropped down at the 27-yard line. Christian Leary on the grab. 25 yards to move the chains.
And watch Leary on this play. This is the Alabama transfer, the quick track guy. You see him able to shift gears. He's very twitchy. And in the open field, that is what you expect from your athletes. Let them be athletic in the open field.
Handoff to him this time, dropped in the backfield. Big hit coming off the edge. It's Burrows, who has been active on special teams a lot so far.
And as fast as Leary is, I don't like that play because it's east and west. You want to get him going north and south. When you go east and west, you allow defenders in pursuit to get up the field. He was never able to plant that outside foot and get north and south.
Spreading things out here, the big tight end Scyther on the near side of the field, looking downfield. Singleton can't come up with it, knocked out of his hands by Jalen Evans in coverage. That brings up 3rd and long.
A good job by Evans to get his hand in there, not overreact and try and make the big hit, but get the ball out of the receiver's grasp.
Talk about the tradition of great defense there. Thomas Howard, their defensive coordinator in his first season, he talked about the players they've had in the past, guys like Shaquille Leonard, who was the NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2018, Javon Hargrave, who's with the Eagles right now, Jacoby Durant with the Rams, had 3 picks as a rookie last year. They've got some big-time pros right now. King looking downfield again. That one's batted away. Jamari Benjamin on the coverage, and that brings up 4th and long.
And a good job by South Carolina State. They only rushed 3. They dropped 8 back into coverage. And that's what you want to do. Keep everything in front of you. And when the ball is released from the quarterback, go and make a play on the football. They didn't get much of a pass rush, but they had everything covered up, and they were on top of all of the receivers.
It's going to be a 47-yard attempt here for Gavin Stewart. He was 0 for 2 on field goals last week. He missed a 54-yarder at the end of the first half and then a 33-yarder. This one up, and it is going to be pulled left. No good from 47 yards. So a frustrating start to the season for him from a field goal standpoint. And the South Carolina State defense has another stop. Stewart, a junior from Savannah, Georgia. Buddy Pugh hoping this offense can put something together late in this first half, under 2:40 to play. Trailing 21-0. It'll be Corey Fields Jr. back at quarterback with Jordan Howell in the backfield with him here. 1st and 10 from their own 30-yard line. Fields throwing, caught. Wrapped up quickly near the 32. Keyshawn Toney, the Chattanooga College transfer at tight end. They really like what they've seen from him early on.
And that's what I think you need to see from the South Carolina State offense. Quick pass game, get your ball to your players in open field, and hope that they can get some one-on-one matchups and make a play for you.
It's their first pass completion. 2nd and 7. Clock ticking near 2 minutes now remaining in the first half. Fields and Howell in the backfield with Corey Fields Jr. Looking for a little wheel route out of the backfield, but overthrows Howell. Now, one guy Georgia Tech missing right now is that man right there holding the cards, number 32. That's Sylvain Yunjuin, who is from Belgium, talented defensive end, tore his ACL, announced that he would have surgery soon. He will miss the rest of this season, but a guy that looks like an NFL defensive end, has the build, has experience here. This was his 5th season, and it's really disappointing. He will come back next year, and they just rave about the type of kid this guy is.
As an offensive tackle, when you see a guy 6'4", between 260 and 240, you know that they've got speed, rush ability, and they're going to get up the field. And that is exactly what he brings to the table for this defense when he's playing.
The older players in FBS, this is a wide open receiver across midfield into Georgia Tech territory. Richard Bailey, the grad student from Hollywood, South Carolina, finally brought down by Jalen King on a pickup of 25.
And a good job by Corey Fields identifying where the open man would be. And I like the way that he got up the field and covered up the football, Bailey, to make sure he did not get the ball stripped. When you're coming towards tackles, you want to cover that up because guys are coming from everywhere punching at that football.
1st and 10 at the Georgia Tech 42. Going to the sideline, another strike right there, right back to Richard Bailey. 7-yard pickup, stops the clock at 1:16.
And they're finding a matchup that is favorable. You got the matchup with Paul Moala on that play, the linebacker, and you think the tight end is going to win that battle every time.
And the call from the sideline, how big would this be going to the half for South Carolina State? Georgia Tech will get the football to start the second half. Minute 16 left in the half. 2nd and 3. Fields, a little bit of time. Downfield, almost grabbed. Keyshawn Toney went up and just had it come off his hands. Coming up at halftime, Mark Packer, E.J. Manuel, Eric McLean talking Florida State past and present. A special guest also in the booth. Let's talk about the 2024 Aer Lingus College Football Classic, plus first half stats and highlights from here in Atlanta. 3rd down now. Snaps it with 2 on the play clock. Out to Toney, who breaks a tackle, puts the shoulder down. Look at the big man go. A 1st down inside the 30, breaking 2 tackles. Miles Brooks couldn't bring him down. Kenan Johnson couldn't either.
And 3 things on that play. 1, you broke the tackle. Something that the coaching staff stressed this week is wrapping up and making the tackles. And then he breaks another tackle. And he also gets out of bounds to stop the clock.
One of their most talented offensive linemen, Nick Taste, helmet came off, so he goes to the sideline for this play. 1st and 10, 1:04 on the clock. Fields flushed out of the pocket, looking downfield, lobs it up, and contact. Flag comes out. It was underthrown, and it kind of worked to their advantage. Miles Sims runs right through Jalen Linder.
And that was good by Linder. He knew he was not going to be able to get to the football, so he stopped because he knew the defender was not looking around, did not have his head around, did not know where the football was, and the defender would run into him.
Defense, number 0, 15-yard penalty with an automatic. First down.
Great play by Linder to sell that and allow the defender to run into him. And once again, a defender, you've got to turn around and you've got to locate the football. And usually when the ball is in the air, you hear the sideline screaming, ball, 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 to tell the defender and alert him to turn around. So I don't fault the defender, but at the same time, a great job by the receiver stopping and allowing the defender to run through him to get the penalty.
First and 10 at the 14-yard line. Fields looking across the middle. It is caught, and just short of the goal line, Jordan Smith with a nice grab in traffic.
And a great job by Fields fitting the ball in there. He knew exactly where he wanted to go at the football. And a good job squeezing that football by Jordan Smith. You've got a defender coming across. He's able to hold the ball close to himself. But Miles Brooks makes the tackle, preventing him from getting a touchdown.
First and goal, run up the middle, and they're in. Touchdown. Casey Fields, the true freshman, into the end zone for the first score of the day for the Bulldogs.
And you got pushed from the offensive line from South Carolina State right at the point of attack.
Fields 5 for 7 for 54 yards on that drive, and it's punched in by Casey Fields. The extra point blocked. Jalen King coming off the edge to get a piece of it, so it remains 21-6.
Watch the offensive line on this play. You see them moving guys, pushing the defenders into the end zone, and a good job by the back knowing where the push is coming from on the right side of that offensive line, and he's able to get to the end zone. A good job by this offensive line continuing to work their feet, push, be the low man at the point of attack, and be the first to make contact. Usually the first to make contact wins the battle at the point of attack, and they fired off, and they were able to get the push necessary for Fields to run behind those guys, those big fellas, and get into the end zone. And what a confidence builder this is for this offense.
After the play is over, unsportsmanlike conduct. Defense, number 99, his first of the game. The 15-yard penalty will be enforced on the kickoff.
It's Daquan Dowse, a defensive tackle from Savannah, Georgia for Georgia Tech.
And the coaching staff talked about Daquan Dowse yesterday during our meetings and how he had earned the start because he had played so well in the Louisville game. Those are mental mistakes that you cannot have. And I tell you what, I would not want to be the player at halftime having to talk to Coach Key about making an error in judgment. When you talk about a fired-up coach, man, our coaches meeting yesterday, man, hey, he gives you everything you look for in one of those coaches, and you see the energy. You see it right there. He's one of those guys that he's going to get in your face. He's going to tell you how he feels about it. And I tell you what, I would not want to be the player that he's talking to and that he's going at right now.
You said it. He's an offensive lineman. He's an old offensive lineman, played his ball here at Georgia Tech, and somebody's hearing about it.
Absolutely. But you got to love that intensity from your head coach because it trickles down to your players.
Great job taking over after a 1-3 start. Had the interim tag removed in November, took over full-time. This is his first full season as head coach. I asked him about what it's like to be the head coach of your alma mater, and he said, man, it's cool. It's just really cool to get to do this. Asked if there was added pressure, and he said, I put that pressure on myself. I welcome that. He is all about winning, all about them improving every single day individually and as a team. Not happy with the way this first half has come to a close. 34 seconds here as they take over from the 25-yard line, and they've got some playmakers. They've got some timeouts.
Yeah, but you have to be very careful right here. You've got the lead. You're coming out. You get the ball in the second half. You don't want to do anything to give more momentum to this South Carolina State ball club.
This was not a team he was overlooking in any way. He said, I do not care who we're playing. This is about us, and we need to take care of business every day. Spinning is Haynes. Nice move in the backfield. Now cuts it upfield. Across the 40. Here goes Haynes to the 35, 25, inside the 20, and dragging a defender inside the 10-yard line. Jamal Haynes, what a run. 66 yards to set up the Yellow Jackets.
And this is what you cannot have happen. But once again, you see the guards in the center climb up to the second-level defenders and cover them up. And when you do that and you give Haynes the lane that he needs, he's got the speed to get to the outside and get up the field. And then you see the power to drag would-be tackles. Michael Brunson, I feel bad for you. You got to ride for about 10 yards as he drug the defender down the field for an additional 10 yards. And once again, you see that fiery coach. And I think the offense feeds off of that energy from Coach Key, and you saw that on that play.
Spinning around the defensive end, Jamal McKinley in the backfield. Look at this from Haynes so far. 6 carries, 96 yards, and a touchdown today. Tremendous performance from the redshirt sophomore.
And he comes from a powerhouse football program in Grayson, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. They've got some great players. Robert Kindici is another great player that came out of that program. So he's used to big-time football, and you see the ability. When you talk about running backs, there are intangibles that you look for. You look for vision. You look for power. You look for balance. And he's shown all of those things when he's had the football in his hands this afternoon.
And there's a handful of Grayson High School members on this Georgia Tech team. Kenyatta Watson II is one of them on the defensive side of the ball. First and goal now at the 8-yard line. Haynes in the backfield with Haynes King. Gonna throw it. Looking to the sideline corner of the end zone. Caught. It's Brett Seither, the second week in a row in a similar spot for the big tight end. How about that for a response?
And, you know, we thought they would be a little bit careful because they were backed up against their own end zone. But when you get the big play like they did from Haynes, I mean, it just opens the door for you to get another score on the board before the half. And you talk about killing momentum for South Carolina State. They were looking to go in only down by 15 points. And then once again, great job by Haynes King to find his tight end. And this is a guy that transferred from the University of Georgia. You couldn't get on the field because you had so many tight ends on that ball club. Brock Bowers, who's probably the best tight end in college football right now. So he did what was best for him, is he transferred about an hour away to another school, and you see the response and you see the results right now. 2 touchdowns.
Haynes King's command of this offense in week 1, especially in the second quarter, and then what we've seen today throughout this entire first half, that is looking like a little bit, somewhat of an under-the-radar move for Haynes King coming to Georgia Tech in what I think could be a really, really good offense this year.
Well, once again, I want to throw the onus on the coaching that he's received, not only at A&M, but now here with Chris Weinke, you know, a former Heisman Trophy winning quarterback that understands the position at a high level. And one of the things they talked about with King was he came in and he earned it. And what he did also was earn the respect of his teammates, and he's a leader. And the coaching staff loved the way that he accepted accountability and responsibility for some of the errors when they lost that game last week. You know, on that fumble, when they're going in for a score, he said, I held the ball too long.
Yep.
You know, a lot of times guys will say, well, you know, they should have blocked a little bit better. And then the coaching staff explained to us that the defensive back turned around, so he was waiting for his receiver to clear and put air under the football to throw it to him. But still, he did not blame anyone. He took the blame, and you love that from your quarterback because that's showing leadership.
King, the new quarterback, a number of new receivers as South Carolina State's just going to take this one to the break. Buster Faulkner in his first year as offensive coordinator coming over from Georgia, where he spent the last 3 seasons working with Chris Wanke. They have a great relationship. And talked about some of the players they've had come through. Short kick here. Christian Leary coming up, but it's going to be fielded by Haynes instead. Here he goes, breaking it to the outside, cutting upfield to the 40 and pushed out near the 45-yard line by the kicker, Cobb. 31-yard return on the short kick there for Jamal Haynes, who is having quite the day.
And you would think at halftime the coaching staff would have told them, do not kick the ball towards number 11. Leave him alone. And what did they do? Come out in the second half and kick the ball right to him.
He will start this second half on the sideline. It'll be Trey Cooley in the backfield with Haynes King.
And Georgia Tech comes back with that starting offensive line that they had to begin this football game.
King, 15 of 19, $166, 3 touchdowns. Swings it out to Cooley, who has a little bit of space. Good blocking there by the receivers and tight end. Here goes Cooley. Is he going to be caught? He is not. Touchdown on the first offensive play of the second half. Trey Cooley, the Louisville transfer, with his 3rd touchdown in 2 weeks.
And the big play was made by number 2, the tight end, Dylan Lillard. Watch number 2 on this play. Great block right here. That key block right there is what sprung Cooley. And once he got to the open field, it's a race to the end zone, and the South Carolina State player could not catch him on the angle. But it all starts with the blocking on the outside. The tight ends are doing an excellent job in open field blocking for the receivers when they get to the outside.
Eden Burr sends it through on the extra point. What a start for Georgia Tech in the second half.
Once again, a great job. He got away with a little bit of a hold on the back of the jersey, and the officials did not see that. But that's what you want to do. You want to cover up the defenders and allow your guy to make a play for you. You see Cooley, he read the blocks, and he's able to squeeze through that small seam. And once he gets through, there's no way the South Carolina State player is going to be able to catch him. He had an angle, but not the angle that he needed to catch him once he got into the open field. And what a way to close the half and then come out and open the second half for this Georgia Tech offense.
2 touchdowns in a 34-second span between the end of the first half and beginning of the second half, and those coming after that South Carolina State touchdown toward the end of the first half. Gavin Stewart to send this away with a 35-6 lead. Into the end zone for a touchback. Get a look at this Bulldogs offense for the first time in the second half.
Now, if you're South Carolina State, you've got to settle down. You can't get it all back in one play. You've got to get back to what you were successful with. I think, you know, if you've got Washington in the game, you go back to the option game. But Fields has shown that he can pass the football when you give him a little bit of time. I think one of the things you want to do with Fields as well is look at probably sprinting him outside the pocket, buying more time. Make those big fellas for Georgia Tech move a little bit.
Corey Fields Jr., a grad student from Hollywood, South Carolina. He's been there since 2019 when he was the MEAC Rookie of the Year. He's played a lot of football for this program. On the keeper on the read option across the 30. It's about 5.5, 6 yards on that carry. Tackled by Scott and Kennard.
And Fields lost his helmet on that play, so he's going to have to come out. And now you've got Washington in the game. But a good job by Fields. He didn't see anything that he liked on the outside, so he stopped and got up the field and got as many yards as he possibly could, putting himself in a better position on second down and short.
Washington at quarterback, he keeps it. He's got some space to the outside, cuts it up and runs through a tackler. It was Brooks at the end of that as he's down at the 45-yard line, pick up a 14.
And you see, once again, the ability by Washington, a good job by the offensive player to find someone to block. Keyshawn Toney, I like the way he didn't just run out there. When he didn't see anybody to kick out, he turned up the field to pick up the linebacker coming in pursuit.
Washington 9 for 52 on the ground. That has been an effective tool in that option game. Buddy Pugh, his offensive coordinator Kevin McGurk, told us they would try to employ more this week. Here's the option again, pitches it out quickly. More space in the run game, cuts it upfield down the sideline to the 20, 15, pushed out near the 10-yard line. The true freshman Jawarn Howell finally tracked down by Harvey.
And he just outran LaMiles Brooks to the sideline. Brooks, number one, had an angle on him, but a good job by Howell to just outrun Brooks and get to the edge. And once he gets down the field, Brooks is in trail mode at that point.
Good block from his true freshman backfield mate, Casey Fields, who had the touchdown earlier in this game. Setting up 1st and goal at the 8-yard line. Handoff, gobbled up quickly. It was Fields on the carry. Josh Robinson, who is filling in for Sylvain Youngjuan, who's out for the season, making the stop.
And South Carolina State went with 2 tights on that play, Keyshawn Toney and Nicholas Brown. I think what they need to do is spread this defense out. And that will give you angles and areas to get up the field in space.
Fields at quarterback. Fields at running back. And they come through with a quick answer after Georgia Tech did it to them at the end of the half. Handoff, pushing toward the 2-yard line. Stopped short of the goal line near the 1 on the 6-yard gain.
And great push at the point of attack by the South Carolina State offensive line. Once again, these young men are firing off the football. Watch the offensive lineman. You see them firing off. You see number 78 and number 72. The guards get up on top of those second-level defenders, covering those linebackers up. The one thing the Georgia Tech linebackers have to do a better job of is being slippery at the point of attack. You're a better athlete than those offensive linemen coming out to block you, but you've got to show that athletic ability and be slippery, because if they get hands on you, they're going to win that battle.
Ian Shark's helmet came off, so Trey Franklin comes into the offensive line for this play. Andre Washington at quarterback. 3rd and goal and a timeout. South Carolina State, or is there a flag on the field?
Timeout. South Carolina
They do
State,
get the timeout.
Their first of the half. 30-second timeout.
Buddy Hugh told us, he said, it's about getting better every day for us, every week, showing improvement. What have you seen from this offense? Have you seen the improvement that you think they'll be happy with so far?
I've seen some dominant plays from this offensive line. I've seen them fire off. I've seen them get a push. And the one thing I think's been impressive is the guards' ability to climb up to the second-level defenders, cover those guys up, not get holding penalties. Too often when you're a guard or a center, you're climbing up to those second-level defenders. They're going to be more athletic than you are. And so a lot of times you get guards or centers getting caught holding because those guys are reacting. But the one thing that I say that Georgia Tech linebackers need to do a better job of, being slippery. I played with a guy that wasn't the biggest guy in the world, but you might know him, Derek Brooks. But he was very slippery, and he did not allow you to get hands on him because he knew you had the power and the strength to overpower him because he wasn't the biggest guy in the world. So what you want to do is make those linemen, go and think you're going to be somewhere. And linemen, to me, are doing a good job of going where those linebackers are going to be as opposed to where they are. The linebackers got to do a better job of being slippery.
I can't believe you're saying they're more athletic than an offensive lineman.
Well, they're smaller. I didn't say more powerful now.
Okay, all right. Ian Shark back out there at left guard after coming off that last play when his helmet popped off. Andre Washington at quarterback trying to punch this thing in. 3rd and goal at the 1-yard line. Looking to the sideline. Jawarn Howell in the backfield. Keyshawn Toney, the tight end on the left. They run the option. Washington cuts it up, and he's in. Andre Washington, the 2nd score of the day for South Carolina State.
And one of the things that Andre Washington does such an excellent job with is, once again, making the defender make a decision. He holds on to the football, and he makes LaMiles Brooks, number one, make the decision to go with the pitch man. And once he does, he's able to cut up and get the necessary yards to get the touchdown.
Zimmerman sends it through to make it 35-13 in the favor of Georgia Tech. 6 plays, 75 yards over 3 minutes for South Carolina State. The big pickup for Jawarn Howell to set them up. And then it's the redshirt freshman Andre Washington punching it in. Carolina started last week, struggled throwing the football, but he's shown off the legs in a big way today. 6-play, 75-yard drive over 3 minutes and 3 seconds. Fielded by Christian Leary on the kickoff, trying to set up this offense again. Here goes Leary, and he's finally spun down at around the 33-yard line.
Now, what I want you to watch in this play, watch number one, LaMiles Brooks. He does what you're supposed to do when he commits to the back. But right here, Moala, you cannot allow the quarterback to cut back. That is your assignment. Once LaMiles Brooks commits to that back, you're coming across in pursuit. You've got to stay inside of that quarterback and play inside out. Once he over-pursued, he allowed for Washington to plant that foot, get north and south, and basically walk into the end zone.
Haynes King takes over at the 32-yard line. Flips it quickly to Rutherford. Here goes Rutherford near the 45 where he's tackled, and it's a first down pickup of 15 yards. Aaron Smith on the stop. Malik Rutherford had a 55-yard catch last week, one of his 5 for 85. Play action pass, King, long throw, wide open receiver, Blaylock. He's down the sideline, back-to-back big first downs here. Gain of 23 to the transfer from Georgia.
And a good job by the offensive line to sell the run. You see them kind of take that step, that jab step. What that does is that occupies the linebacker's eyes long enough for the back to get out into space.
Handoff, Haynes cuts it upfield, staying on his feet. Dragged down by Aaron Smith. Haynes trying to jump through right there and break off another big one.
And now you see a Georgia Tech offense in rhythm. They're lining up. They're ready to go when the ball is set. You see King talking to his players, giving directions, giving directives. And there are huge holes for these backs to run through right now.
Last 3 plays, 15, 23, and 15 yards. This one, not quite as much, just 3 yards on that. Tackled by Patrick Godbolt.
Now, this is where the defenders have to hunker down and not allow movement at the point of attack. You want to allow your linebackers to flow downhill.
Two tight ends set here. Hand off to Haynes, nowhere to go, gobbled up. Multiple tacklers back there. Nawan Barber was the first one to get there. Flag on the field. They're talking about this right now. Haynes lost his helmet. He's a little slow to come off. He did get...
There is no foul for a face mask.
He felt awkward on that play. His knees were kind of bent backwards on that play because you got pushed by the defenders at the point of attack. They pushed him back into the backfield. Watch his knees. Yes, he kind of felt awkward on that right knee. Let's hope he's going to be okay.
Aaron Smith finishing that after Barber got his mitts on him. 3rd and 8 here in the red zone. Haynes King looking far side. Nobody there. Now lobbing it back of the end zone. A little bit of a reckless throw, but Jamari Benjamin can't bring it in. Avery Boyd had to turn into the defender there and push him out of bounds. It is not Gavin Stewart coming out again. It's Aiden Burr.
And that's a play I think Haynes King would like to have back. He didn't have anywhere to go with the football, but he almost made a mistake throwing the ball where he did right there. Just throw it out the back of the end zone.
Hold down by Shanahan. Field goal is up and good. Stewart has struggled on field goal attempts. He's been perfect on extra points, but Burr comes through right there from 30 yards. The Hall of Fame here at Georgia Tech. They beat Cumberland 222-0 back on October 7th, 1916. That scoreboard has never been used like that, I can almost guarantee you. And at halftime, he was trying to make sure his team didn't lose focus. He said, look, you just can't tell what those Cumberland players have up their sleeves. They may spring a surprise.
They
did
had
not.
126 points at the half. You shouldn't have anything to say, but hey, guys, just keep doing what you're doing. I mean,
What happened? I mean, like, what were the fans thinking?
How do you have anything to say to your team? Like, I mean, what do you say to your team? You got 126 points.
Look at that. Hey, look at that two. There's a two hanging off the side there. You can barely tape that up there.
120. I mean, guys, I mean, I'm honestly trying to figure out what do you say to your team?
Yeah. Trying to imagine interviewing him after that. What'd you like today, Coach?
Everything.
Yeah. It all worked.
Yeah, everything worked.
Georgia Tech leading by 25. See if this defense can come up with a stop here. They started the game with the turnover, the pick by Kyle Kennard. A couple scoring drives, though, in the last few chances for South Carolina State. Carry up the middle by Jaworn Howell. Pick up a 4 on first down. Zeke Biggers on the stop. Speaking of Heismans, how about these guys?
Well, Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, back-to-back. He's trying to do what Archie Griffin did in '75. Jordan Travis leading the Florida State Renaissance. J.J. McCarthy, they get to the national semis last year. I mean, they've got everybody back. Blake Corum coming back. That helps that ball club, and that helps J.J. McCarthy continue to be a guy.
2nd and 6. Fields hands off again up the middle, nowhere to go right there. A couple other guys on that list. You got to love it if you're a Colorado fan. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter.
Absolutely. Well, Shedeur Sanders today, 399 yards and 2 touchdowns. After that big performance last week with 5-10 and 4 touchdowns. Travis Hunter, once again, big plays on the offense. They were scared to throw his way. And 2 guys I want to mention that are not on this list. Michael Penix Jr. last week, 450 yards. 5 touchdowns for Washington, and Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know about that quarterback situation up there as they get into Big Ten play, but today, 7 catches, 162 touchdowns. He should be mentioned as well.
3rd and 4. Caught there and dragged down at the 40-yard line. Nice grab by Jordan Smith. Fields connecting with him to move the chains. Eford on the stop.
It was interesting when you look at both of these quarterbacks. I mean, Fields looks really comfortable back there throwing the football when he has time. And I've been impressed with this offensive line, being able to give Fields the time that he needs to go through progressions and find the open receiver.
And you talked about it earlier, just getting him comfortable, and this offensive line has been a big help with that. Also, Andre Washington being able to run the ball effectively. The South Carolina State offense, it's their best performance of the season so far against their best opponent. Pick up another 5 yards on first down behind Jaworn Howell.
And not only against their best opponent, but against a Power 5 opponent that was looking to really settle in defensively and really, kind of set the tone for the rest of the season. I know Coach Keith and his staff are going to have to really look at, what's going on with this run defense, because they've been able to run the ball effectively.
South Carolina State averaging 6.5 yards on first down right now. Here's another throw. Nice grab out wide. Richard Bailey has been heavily involved in the pass game after entering with just 1 catch. They pick up 8 there to move the chains.
And this is what I talked about. Get Corey Fields outside of the pocket. Sprint him out of the pocket. Get him away from the pressure, especially when Georgia Tech walks those linebackers up and they show the blitz. Get your quarterback outside. Buy him more time to look down the field.
He was just 7 for 20 with a touchdown and an interception, 60 yards in their Week 1 loss against Jackson State. Today, 7 for 13 for 71 yards and the 1 interception. 7 for 9 for 71 since an 0-4 start. Fields on the keeper, maybe a little bit of a miscommunication there. Braylon Oliver not fooled, the transfer from Minnesota making the stop.
And a good job by Oliver, playing his keys, staying on top of the quarterback, not overcommitting, breaking down to make the tackle. Too often you see guys flying up and they run by the ball carrier because they're trying to make the big hit. A good job by Oliver breaking down to make that tackle.
Brings up 2nd and 10 on the Georgia Tech side of the field. Andre Washington back at quarterback. Option right side. Trying to cut it upfield, and that's a tackle for loss for Georgia Tech. Oliver back in it again. They did not have a sack or a TFL last week. Oliver picking one up right there.
And a good play by number 55, Horace Lockett, to stretch that out. I talked about it earlier. The way these big fellas are able to stretch those plays out and move from side to side, very impressive by him and by number 97, Eddie Kelly.
Mentioned earlier, replacing your top 3 tacklers, 2 of them 100-plus tackle guys at your middle linebacker spots, Ace Ely and Charlie Thomas III. Keon White was a 2nd-round draft pick at defensive end. They said Braylon Oliver would get an opportunity, making the most of it here on this drive, certainly. 3rd and 11 now for South Carolina State. Fields looking downfield, high throw, and brought in. Nice grab by the tight end, Keyshawn Toney, who has looked really impressive.
And a great read and throw by Corey Fields on that play. Keenan Johnson on the cover, but watch what he does. He puts the ball where only his receiver can high point the football, and he gets both feet down. And they had 7 back in coverage. They only rushed 4. Once again, when you give Fields time, he seems to be able to get the ball down the field.
I said Keyshawn Toney, a guy who's really stepped up, transfer from Chattanooga College, started his career at South Carolina. He was a 2-time All-State basketball player at Williston Elko High School. You see it there with the hops. Out wide, Toney again. They get about 6 yards on 1st down. Trinilius Tatum on the tackle.
And a good job by Fields to get rid of the football. Often you see quarterbacks wait and allow the defender to get on top of the receiver. A good job of getting rid of it fast, allowing his receiver to plant and get north and south and get positive yards. This is what you want. You've got 2nd and 5. Now you've got versatility with what you can do offensively.
Clock ticking down toward 3 minutes left in this 3rd quarter. 10th play of the drive right here. Handoff up the middle. Not much doing. Ball came out, and Georgia Tech has the football. And guess who? Kyle Kennard had the interception on the 1st drive of the game, has the fumble recovery right here. Popped out. Biggers and company in there. Kennard come for Florida State hosting Southern Miss. That game also available on the ESPN app. What stood out to you about your Seminoles last week in a really impressive win over LSU?
Well, I think their offensive explosion. Keon Coleman, he's a guy. I mean, you get the kid Wilson to come back, 6'7" receiver, but then you add 6'4" Keon Coleman, who looks like he can jump out of the gym. They've got some offensive weapons on that ball club.
Georgia Tech has their fair share of offensive weapons. Nice tackle there on that flip. Not much doing on 1st down. Tackled by Michael Brunson. Christian Leary was the ball carrier there. Haynes King now at 259 yards passing with 4 touchdowns for Georgia Tech. The Yellow Jackets have not had a quarterback throw for 300 or more yards in back-to-back games in the last 20 years. Here he is on 2nd down. Great move there in the middle of the field. Rutherford has the 1st down on a 14-yard pickup.
And that is a stat I don't think you're going to be able to read too much longer because Haynes King seems to be in a groove. And once again, you see him getting more and more familiar with his receivers, where they like the football, where they're going to be.
King in the backfield with Cooley, moves into a pistol set here. Hand off to Cooley, bounces it outside, cuts it upfield now, spun down at about the 41-yard line. Chris Austin on the tackle.
And watch the patience by Cooley on this play. He allows the play to develop right here, boom. Then he bounces it to the outside. You see the spin, you know, the balance, and then the power to continue to fall forward. All of the intangibles that you want in the running back, he showed on that play.
Talks about the depth at wide receiver. I think they like their depth at running back as well. Haynes, Cooley, Dante Smith. Also have a freshman, Evan Dickens. King, time, launching downfield, open man. Oh, just off the hands of Singleton.
And on that play, King didn't have to put any air under it. Singleton had broken free. He was wide open. There was no defender to the inside. Just put it out there. You don't have to put that much air under it. There was no one there. He could have led Singleton on that play. But once again, that comes with familiarity. And as they continue to work together and continue to run those routes together, he'll know where King will be.
Sets up 2nd and 10. Eric Singleton Jr. already showing off his big play ability, taking the top off the defense back-to-back weeks. Cooley charges forward and gets 7 on first down, tackled by Austin again.
And I meant he'll know where Singleton will be. I said King will know where King will be, but Singleton. And once again, that's familiarity.
Something that Buster Faulkner, their offensive coordinator, talked about with a lot of new faces at wide receiver. Like, it's coming along. It's coming along quickly. Not quite there, but they like the way things are progressing. King rolling out under pressure off his back foot, just throws this one away. Pressured by Jablonski Green. He's had a good start to the season, a grad student from Lamar, South Carolina. 4th and 3, Georgia Tech going for it here. The 34-yard line of South Carolina State. King has some time to the sideline. Blaylock goes up. Did he pull it in? He did. What a grab by Dominic Blaylock.
And I want to see, did he get his foot down? Because the defender did a good job of getting him out of bounds. Was he able to get that foot down? I don't know. It looked like the left foot may have been down. You see they're lining up real quick to try and snap the football. But I think he did get that left foot down.
Their second of the half. 30-second timeout.
You saw Georgia Tech lining up very fast to try and get the next play, because I think there was a question by them as well. Was he in bounds? But on that last replay, it looked like he got the left foot down prior to being pushed. Watch the left foot.
Please reset the game clock to 20 seconds. 20 seconds, please.
Ooh, I don't know. That's close.
I think he got that
Yeah,
left
I think
foot.
he got it down. I think he got it down. Great job by the officials.
Wow, what a catch. Dominic Blaylock. One of 4 transfer wide receivers. Talked about 3 of those 4 were very highly recruited out of high school. Blaylock, a top 40 recruit out of Marietta, Georgia, went to Georgia. Comes here along with the offensive coordinator, Buster Faulkner, who was at Georgia the last 2 years as an offensive quality control assistant for the quarterbacks. 1st and 10 at the 20-yard line now for the Yellow Jackets. Out to Cooley, who can't hang on, and it is ruled an incomplete pass.
Incomplete. Forward pass. Second down.
It was close on that play. South Carolina State thought just maybe, but it's an incomplete pass to bring up 2nd and 10.
And they did the right thing, cover it up just in case. And I think the officials may look at this.
Throwing on the field of a forward pass is under further review.
Because the question is, was he behind the line of scrimmage?
Recovered by DJ Buffet. take a look.
Yeah, I think that's a forward pass. But the officials are doing a good job of making sure.
Stuart Mullins, our referee today, taking a look at this in the monitor down on the field. 16 seconds left in the third quarter.
I know it's closer. When you look at it from that angle, it's a lot closer than you think.
That angle's good because it was hard to tell. King kind of keeps moving backward after the throw, but that almost looked like he threw that a foot backwards.
Let's see, where's King when he's on the 34? I don't know. That may be a backwards pass. He's on the 34, but look where Cooley is. Cooley's behind. I think that may be a backwards pass because, see, when you initially saw King, you have to remember he's fading back after he lets go of the football. I think that's a backward pass. And the one thing I like about the way the South Carolina State defenders reacted, that's what you have to do, react, jump on the football just in case. Smart play by the defenders if this is overturned.
Really a nearly perfect day for Haynes King and company offensively.
Watch the defender, though. As soon as it happens, he instantly goes towards the football and covers it up. That's exactly how you're taught to do as a defender. You never know if it's going to be called a turnover or not, but you want to cover that up, immediately. I think it's a turnover.
And you wonder now if they're just trying to make sure they get the ball in the right spot where this is recovered, if they are, in fact, going to overturn it. Looks like we are. I thought for a moment he was going to walk away from the monitor and give us the call. Offensively as a whole for Georgia Tech, how happy are you with what you've seen from them?
After further review, the ruling on the field stands. Second down. The clock is correct, and we'll start on the snap.
I thought that was very close. And they took a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they took so much time, because of how close that was.
So it is 2nd and 10 from the 20. New life here for Haynes King and company. That call being confirmed. Free play, lobbing it to the end zone. Trying to grab it with one hand is Singleton. To the offside against the defense here. Godbolt jumped.
Offside. Defense number 43. 5-yard penalty. Replay. Second down.
And a great job by Singleton once again, trying to make the catch. Reaching out, trying to help his quarterback.
2nd and 5. Handoff up the middle, and he breaks through. Cooley into the end zone. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. 15 yards for Trey Cooley, who had 2 on the ground last week.
And the offensive line, once again, doing a good job. And they just parted the Red Sea, and Cooley went in basically untouched. He didn't see a defender until he got to the 1-yard line, and by that time, momentum carried him into the end zone. Offensive line doing a good job of getting the hat on the hat and covering up those linebackers.
Aiden Burr sends it through. 45-13 Georgia Tech.
You see, once again, look at those linemen covering up those linebackers, getting pushed at the point of attack. And there are no defenders until Cooley gets to the 3rd level of the defense.
Offensive line, certainly a big positive today for Georgia Tech. As a whole, this offense has been rolling. They like this guy, Trey Cooley, out of Raleigh, North Carolina, Louisville transfer. Spent 2 years there, just a junior now here at Georgia Tech. Jamal Haynes has been tremendous in the backfield as well. You see him giving a high five right there. 5 seconds left in this third quarter. Brent Key well on his way to his first win here in his first full season as head coach of his alma mater. Shamonte Burgess deep to return. He will not get a chance as this goes into the end zone for a touchback. Impressive drive last time for South Carolina State, but ended up coughing up the football. Saw a lot of good things from them offensively, though, as they moved it into Georgia Tech territory.
They're going to be able to take a lot of positives from this ball game. They've been able to establish a quality rushing attack. Fields has been effective throwing the ball down the field and finding open receivers. And I like what Keyshawn Toney brings to the table as a tight end for this ball club.
Easily their best week throwing the football here after an 0-2 start against Jackson State and Charlotte. Washington, the quarterback, to start this drive. What could be the final play of the third quarter. Keep it on the ground with the option left side. Charging forward, it's a first down, it's still going. It's Josh Shaw to end the third quarter.
That's the end of the third quarter.
Georgia.
We're playing regardless of who's in the game.
Coach, you made some changes on the offensive line for this ball game. Talk about their play.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job protecting the quarterback. Going out and doing their job. There's still some things in the run game where you'd like to see it be a little bit more efficient, and especially on those first downs. Some of those getting 2 and 3 yards a couple of times. I'd like to see it be a 4 or 5 yard gain. Be an efficient play on the first down, so we can roll into the second down, give them some of the tempo we want to play with.
Coach, thanks for the time.
All right, thanks, guys. Go Jackets.
Brent Key, first full season in command, and you talk to him, he is an intense guy, demands excellence out of these guys. I can't think of somebody who it means more to run this program in particular than that man.
Because he bleeds Georgia Tech football. He's been a part of what they're trying to build and what they've been building in the past, and you just got to love that. He's everything Georgia Tech football, and he embodies what they're trying to build. He talked about, his mentors, Coach O'Leary and Coach Saban. And when you think about those guys, you think about intensity.
Georgia Tech alums to be the head coach here. Hadn't happened since back in 1986. Bill Curry, and you mentioned it, asked him who some of the most impactful coaches that he's been under. George O'Leary, who was his coach when he played here at Georgia Tech, and then he served under him for a decade at UCF, and then Nick Saban. And Brent Key was at Alabama as their offensive line coach for 3 years before returning to Georgia Tech. Fields stepping up, in trouble, and almost finds an open man but can't quite complete that pass. Here he is, back on the offensive line in the late 90s. I think he could still get out there and move some people.
Absolutely. You love the intensity by Coach Key. And one thing that was interesting, when I talked to Coach Key this spring, when I visited some of their practices, he talked about he brought a different offensive line coach in because he wanted his guys to have a different philosophy than what he taught them as an offensive line coach. And I thought that was big of him to say, hey, what I taught them is great, but I want them to learn from someone else and learn a whole new technique of how to block and be successful from the offensive line position.
Blaylock, a little space-breaking tackle, staying inbounds and takes it near the 40-yard line. He talked about his coaching staff as a whole, and it's a group he really respects. Says, look, they're not going to come in here and tell me what they think I want to hear. They'll tell me what they think, and if I mess something up, they'll let me know. That's just kind of how he operates.
Well, you've got to have a respect for a coach when you're the offensive line coach and you bring someone else in that's a polar opposite of you to bring in a new approach and a new philosophy.
Well, Haynes King's day is done. He did not make it to the 300-yard mark. So that streak of no back-to-back passers over 300 yards in the last 20 years continues. This is Zach Pyron, who slides down about the 44-yard line. Redshirt freshman from Pinson, Alabama. He started 2 games last year as a true freshman before he broke his clavicle against Miami. Led them to a win on the road at Virginia Tech, 28-27. He's a capable quarterback back there. Seeing some of his first action of this 2023 season. Pitches it out wide. Dante Smith gets the edge, dragged down at the 46-yard line on a gain of 10, and he has a first down.
And one of the things that stood out from the running backs from Georgia Tech is they don't go down easy. You can't try and arm tackle these guys. You've got to wrap them up, and if you can't bring them down, hold on to them to allow pursuit to get there, because they run through arm tackles.
Trips left set here for Pyron. Still working with the starting receivers in this game. In that running back room, talked about the depth there. Throwing it into the flats. Falling down is Smith. Jalen Evans in on the play defensively.
1 yard gain on the play.
2nd and 9 now for the Yellow Jackets. See if Pyron gets a chance to throw it. He does. Has plenty of time now, rolling out on the run. Singleton on the sideline makes the catch. Beautiful throw and catch from Pyron to Singleton.
And a good job by Singleton to recognize where he was and not step out of bounds first, and then make himself a target for his quarterback. And that's a great catch and toe tap by Singleton.
Looks like he has a very bright future here in Atlanta. Pyron hands off. Not much doing there, just across the 25-yard line. Now Haynes King, pretty good stuff from him today. 21 of 29 throwing, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns. Saw a couple throws that he missed, but for the most part, Forrest, this is a guy that looks really comfortable in this offense in just his 2nd game running the show.
Absolutely, and you said it right there. Just his 2nd game, continuing to familiarize himself with his receivers. And I think as they continue to work together, they will continue to progress and get better and better and better.
The previous play is under further review.
Our offensive coordinator, Buster Faulkner, said Haynes King is the toughest guy in the building. Smart, savvy, commands the room. You got a review here. 10:41 to play in the 4th quarter.
The buzzers went off erroneously. It is 2nd down.
Scratch that. No review. The buzzers went off erroneously. How about that word? So we stick around. 2nd and 9 for Pyron and company. Smith stays in the backfield. Pistol set, wants to throw it. Going to set up a little screen here, and Rutherford going backwards, tackled by the defensive end, Godbolt. They lose a yard.
And a good job by the defense to sift through the offensive personnel. You had 12 personnel, 1 running back, 2 tight ends, 2 receivers. So with those 2 tight ends, you basically have 2 additional offensive linemen out there blocking. So to be able to sift through all of that and get the receiver down, great job by the defense from South Carolina State. 6
tackles for loss for them today against this Georgia Tech team. They've given up some big plays, but their fair share of good ones. Sets up 3rd and long for Pyron. Some pressure coming, steps up in the pocket, long throw just off the hands of his intended target, Rutherford.
And with that pass, I think you throw it to Rutherford, not lead him on that play. You see him kind of lead Rutherford on that play, throwing it where he would be. I thought he should have thrown it where he was because he was open. And that comes with repetition.
Chris Wanke on the sideline there, the Heisman Trophy winner at Florida State, co-offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach here at Georgia Tech. Burr's kick is up and splits the uprights. He's making an impression today. You might see him on field goal duty next week as well. Georgia Tech 48, South Carolina State 13. Chris Wanke talking to Zach Pyron on the sideline. Wanke, the quarterback coach, co-offensive coordinator here with Buster Faulkner, and he knows a little bit of something about playing quarterback. The 2000 Heisman Trophy winner, the oldest player to ever win that award at 28 years old, because he was a second-round pick in the 1990 MLB draft. So we went and played some baseball.
And if he would have stayed at Florida State, I would have had the opportunity to play with him. But then you've got the Charlie Ward effect. But I'll tell you one thing about Chris Wanke. He was coached by Mark Richt, one of the better quarterback coaches. People don't realize that because of his head coaching at the University of Georgia in Miami. But before that, he was our coordinator and the quarterbacks coach. Then, you look at what Chris was able to do, when he got, to the pros. He played very well for Carolina for a couple of years. So I think the experience that he has and brings to the table, that helps Haynes King and the other quarterbacks in this system.
Some of the guys he's worked with, this is a really impressive list. And when you talk about Haynes King being here at Georgia Tech, without Chris Wanke, that probably doesn't happen, because Wanke had recruited him out of high school when Wanke was at Tennessee. So they had a prior relationship. And we asked Haynes King about that. How did you get here? He said Chris Wanke was one of the first guys to reach out to me. He said I had always respected him and gotten along with him. Got to meet Brent Key. Said just kind of fell in love with this coaching staff and the way they go about their business and the type of people they are.
Well, he coached 2 Super Bowl winning quarterbacks in Nick Foles and Russell Wilson. I mean, what else can you ask for as far as having a quarterbacks coach somebody that's experienced, somebody that's been successful, somebody that understands the position and how to play the position at the highest level.
I took the words right out of my mouth. Would have had a chance to play with him at Florida State, but like you said, it worked out pretty good with Charlie Ward.
Absolutely.
He had a Heisman too.
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
Hey, man, those quarterbacks don't win the Heisman without those offensive linemen, though.
They absolutely don't. And there was a great one down there, number 79. They used to call him Big Foe.
I know that guy. Big hit in the backfield there. Tackle for loss here for Georgia Tech. Kyle Kennard has had a really good day for the Yellow Jackets on that defensive line. Florida State coming up. 8:30 Eastern, taking on Southern Miss. Bethune-Cookman against Miami next Thursday at 7:30 Eastern on ACC Network. Great football on today. A lot of good Week 2 games. We're keeping our eye on a number of those. Right now, Ole Miss playing Tulane. That game early in the fourth quarter, and Ole Miss just up 3 points against a really good Tulane team. South Carolina State charges forward for a first down, a 5-yard gain on the ground.
And one of the things when I look at this Georgia Tech defense that they're going to have to shore up before they get back into conference play is they've got to do better at the point of attack on the defensive line.
For an injured defensive player.
Injury on the field. One of those Georgia Tech defenders, and we will take a look at that when we come back. USF transfer, and they just now get him up as we come back in some serious pain. And one of those guys on the defensive line, they lost Sylvain Youngjuen for the year with an ACL last week. Now, Kelly, you can see he is in some real pain. He has been all over the field today for them. Some big games ahead for this Georgia Tech team. Man, it's tough to watch. Day like this for Georgia Tech, when you're coasting, this is the last thing you want as this game winds down.
And you just hope that he's going to be okay. He seems to be in a lot of pain. He seems to be being able to put a little bit more pressure on it when he's gotten to the sideline. Let's just hope he's going to be okay.
So 1st and 10 at the 38-yard line. Handoff to Howell. Not much doing. Gain of 2 on the play. Excuse me, Josh Shaw on the carry. South Carolina State in week 1, a 37-7 loss to Jackson State. Last week went to Charlotte. They led 3-0 early in the second quarter, but lost that game 24-3. Today, 280 total yards. That is the most of the season for them. So progress, we talked about it earlier, against a Power 5 opponent on the road against a team like Georgia Tech. There's some positives to come out of this. I think, and we've talked about this defense for Buddy Pugh. They've got some stuff on the defensive side of the ball. Can they move the ball consistently on offense? That is the question, but signs of it today.
Well, I like the 2 quarterback rotation. When you look at Washington, once again, he's a long, big kid, a long kid at 6'4". He runs the ball very effective with that option. And Corey Fields has looked good when he's had time to pass the football, finding receivers down the field.
Washington wants to throw it this time, rolling out, long throw off the hands of his receiver. Nigel Johnson, the intended target, true freshman out of Sumter, South Carolina. Pretty good throw on the run there from Washington.
And all Johnson needs to do is squeeze the football, make the catch, get the first down. Don't worry about making the play after the catch. Make the catch. One of the things the Georgia Tech coaches talk to us about, and especially Coach Andrew Thacker, is the yards after contact.
See the numbers here for Corey Fields Jr. and Andre Washington. Fields clearly the passer. Washington has been good in the ground game. A couple drives earlier in this game has 54 yards rushing.
And I think as Washington gets more experience, he'll be better passing the football. He's a young quarterback.
Blame game. Kicking team. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
There's definitely some bright spots to take away from this game with the young quarterback, Andre Washington. I think Corey Fields will continue to be the starter because of his ability to pass the ball down the field, his recognition and understanding of the offense and the philosophy that the coaching staff are looking to run. But Andre Washington puts them in a good place moving forward as a young quarterback.
It's been the Corey Fields show for a long time in Orangeburg. This is a bouncer. Rodney Shelley fields it, makes a man miss, trying to get to the sideline. Here's the speed. Somebody ran out of bounds. Too much speed from Rodney Shelley on that return.
And Shelley, you gotta know where you are. You're dancing down the sideline. Tiptoe, tiptoe, show balance. Lean to the inside.
Field hockey, UConn and Syracuse, then 1:30 Eastern. A soccer triple header, number 20 Northwestern at Virginia Tech. Florida at number 2 Florida State, the rivalry there. And 5:30 Eastern, Wyoming and Louisville. Georgia Tech with the football. Tackle in the backfield quickly. Loss of 4 yards on that. Jared Kirksey in the backfield, redshirt junior from Clemson, South Carolina. Got some guys on this defensive line for South Carolina State. Brings up 2nd and long for Zach Pyron. Working the clock down to 5:30 to play in this football game. Georgia Tech will move to 1-1 on the season. They are at number 22 Ole Miss next week. Tipped and intercepted. Falls nicely into the hands of Jablonski Green, the defensive end.
An interception. First down, South Carolina State.
And their 2 bookends made the play. First, Patrick Godbolt jumps up and blocks the pass, tips the pass up. Watch number 43. He reads the quarterback's eyes, gets his hand up, and then you see Jablonski Green come across. Jablonski Green off of the tip from Jared Kersey. to make the interception. So you like the active hands to begin with. Then you see more active hands to keep the ball up in the air, and Jablonski Green with the concentration to squeeze it and bring it to his body.
Those D linemen working together right there to make sure they brought that one in eventually.
That is what you call working in tandem.
Well, we just talked about it, though. The defensive line, they've got some guys. That's been something they've always seemed to have. Javon Hargrave, almost 19 sacks over the last 2 seasons in the NFL for the Eagles. Now back on offense, handoff here on first down, nowhere to go for Josh Shaw. Prometheus Franklin in at quarterback now for South Carolina State. Well, it's going to be an 0-3 start for the Bulldogs, but they fought today, and a lot of good things from them. A few drives they were able to put together. One ended in a turnover in Georgia Tech territory, but you mentioned it. There's a lot of positives to take from this for South Carolina State. This is the best game they've played this season.
And I think it's all a reflection of their coach, Buddy Pugh, and you know, I don't think people give him enough credit and recognition for what he's accomplished. 3 black college football national championships, 8 MEAC titles, 4-time MEAC Coach of the Year. He has meant so much, not only, once again, to his players, but to HBCU and FBS football. He spent time at South Carolina as an assistant coach. He's done it all. You know, he's been a high school coach. You know, like I said, you know, he is one of those guys that when he retires, you know, people will look back and say, wow, you know, what he meant to us and what he meant to college football as a whole.
Yeah, 5 years as an assistant at South Carolina under Lou Holtz. Took over at South Carolina State in 2002. Played offensive line there. Final 2 seasons, they went 15-7-1. Back-to-back postseason appearances when he was a player.
And his teams are always ready to play.
Very happy. We asked him, how do you bring in these guys, consistent NFL talent, to South Carolina State? He said, look, those guys didn't come in pros. We've had to look a little deeper in the recruiting process, evaluate differently. Had really high praise for one of his assistants, Jerry Harrison, who's been on that staff for a long time, in helping identify those talents.
And what they do is they develop their players. They bring in players that might not be 4- or 5-star players, but they develop talent.
4th down throw short of the marker. It was a nice catch there.
Georgia Tech, timeout.
Shamonte Burgess on the grab. With 3:42 to go in the 4th, Georgia Tech takes over. We'll be right back. Heading here in Atlanta at Bobby Dodd Stadium at Hyundai Field. Those buildings over there in the corner, those brick buildings, corner of the end zone, part of Olympic Village. And they were held here in 1996. This is such a cool setting. Downtown Atlanta in the background, right here on the campus of Georgia Tech. It is the oldest on-campus football venue in NCAA Division I FBS. They are kicking off their home slate with a win over South Carolina State. 3.5 minutes to play here for Georgia Tech to close the door. Alongside Forrest Connolly, I'm Chucky Kempf. Great crew. Todd Koulis, our producer. Adam Bryant, our director. Bradley Board on graphics. Ryan Bennett, our stats man. And David Salati, spotter today up in the booth. Second and 10 now for Zach Pyron. Tosses out wide. Evan Dickens, the freshman running back, showing off the moves. He's close to a first down at the 40-yard line. And they will move the chains.
Once again, you've got receivers out in the open field doing a good job blocking, leading the way, and patience by the running back, waiting for the play to develop, seeing the seam, and then hitting it as soon as he sees it.
And we talked about that in the break, how good these tight ends and wide receivers downfield as a unit have blocked for these playmakers. One of those things, everyone's kind of eating on this offense, and you get the feeling like, hey, I'm going to do it for you, so whenever I get the football, you're going to be there for me. 1st and 10. Not much running room there for Dickens.
Dickens, your ball carrier, brought down by Kirksey.
Tackled by Jared Kirksey and Jordan Watkins in on the stop.
Ball on the Yellow Jacket 40-yard line.
South Carolina State has a bye next week, then their home opener, finally, is what they're probably thinking. It'll be on September 23rd against the Citadel. They'll be looking for their first win of the season. Something to build on here heading into the bye week.
And although the score might not reflect it, I think there are a lot of positives to take away from this game from South Carolina State.
Another handoff to Dickens. Hit hard, head on there by Barber.
I think Georgia Tech has found out who their starting offensive line should be. They did a really good job in pass protection, giving King the time that he needed to look down the field and survey what the defense was giving him. I think King is continuing to develop, cohesiveness with his wide receivers. I think the running backs show an ability to be patient, an ability to, show discipline, an ability to break tackles, an ability to get to the house when they get in the open field. So all of the things that you're looking for as far as a recipe for success offensively, we've seen it today from Georgia Tech.
Dickens breaking free and wrapped up. Last man that had a chance to get him did. Tackled on the play by Quantre Harry. 19-yard gain for the freshman Dickens.
And once again, you see the balance, the power, the vision, and the unwillingness to just go down. They fight for every yard, and you have to love that, especially as an offensive lineman.
That'll be the last play of the game. This is a Georgia Tech offense that finished in the bottom 3 of the ACC in points per game, yards per game, and passing yards per game. They've got playmakers, they've got their quarterback, and they've got their first win of the season here over South Carolina State. Buddy Pugh and Brent Key shaking hands. It is the 750th win in program history for Georgia Tech.